What's up, YouTube? Robbie Vapes back again, and today I got the Mickey Mouse gloves back on. Oh, and I listened to your votes, and we'll be reviewing the Innokin TC 18650, so stay tuned. That is right, YouTube. I listened to your votes in my last video, and based on your votes, the pretty much overwhelming response for what you want to see first reviewed was the Innokin Coolfire 4 TC 18650. Now, honestly, I can see why you want it reviewed, and I'm not going to give away too much right now. In fact, before we get started, I'm going to do something I don't usually do, and I'm actually going to go over the structure of this review first. So I'm going to tell you all the segments we're going to cover, and then at the very end of this video, I'm actually going to talk about my overall opinion on this device, as well as tie it into another review for the Innokin Coolfire 4 TC 100 watt, which has a built-in battery. And we'll tie those together at the end of this video, but basically what I want to do first, go over the structure. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the pros and cons. After that, I'm going to talk about the battery safety and the battery lifespan on this device, which, by the way, if you only watch one segment of this review, I highly recommend you watch that segment. Alright? Then we're going to go into the unboxing / up close or / down and dirty section, which is always fun. We'll do that as well. While we're down there, I'll talk about some features and things like that, what's included. And after that, basically what we're going to do is just talk about my final thoughts, and then again, like I said before, tie it into the Innokin TC100, or the Coolfire 4 TC100, which, by the way, is a little bit long to say, so I'm just going to refer to it as the Innokin TC100, and I'm probably just going to refer to this as the Innokin TC 18650. So with that being said, let's get into the pros and cons first and foremost. So I want to start with the cons, and there's really only one con I have, and it's being super nitpicky. This is just a con for me personally. A lot of people are not going to mind this. It's not a huge inconvenience by any stretch, but it's just something little that I had to find wrong with this device. I almost felt like it was too perfect. I had to find something to pick on it, and the one thing I'm going to pick on is the scrolling feature. Whether you're in temperature mode or whether you're in wattage mode, to scroll up and down with this device is a lot like the Innokin TC100, which if any of you guys already have that one, you know what I mean. Basically, instead of just hitting up and down to scroll, accordingly for temperature or for wattage, what you actually have to do is you have to hold it down first, either up or down will work, and if you hold it down, you'll actually start blinking, and once it starts blinking, that's when you can adjust the wattage or the temperature. It's a bit of an inconvenience, but again, it's not a deal breaker. It's me being super nitpicky on this device, and it might even be a little bit unfair, to be honest, to even call that a con. A lot of you guys are going to look past that. It's not going to be a big deal, but I just wanted to put it out there just because that was the only thing I could find wrong with this device, period. Moving on to the pros, there are a ton of them, and there's even some pros I'm going to mention that are super important, and I think will actually be the new standard of my reviews. So we'll start with that one first, and the most important pro I have to give is the literature that's included. Yes, you get a really nice, lengthy user manual, which goes through every aspect of this device, front and back, bottom to top, whatever you want to call it. It is very, very good, and it's very well detailed. The other thing I want to talk about, though, that's also included is literature on battery safety. Now, one of the big things you may not know, or maybe you do know, or you have caught on by now, is that Innokin is usually known for releasing devices with built-in batteries. And the main reason for that is, and I can understand this, they don't want to be responsible for someone who fucks up. I'm sorry to be blunt, but I have to be, okay? And I can totally see where they're coming from. Now, that being said, treating everybody like that maybe it's not really fair to say that, but the fact is there are, a few people out there who don't bother looking into battery safety, who get into something head first, and maybe it's not even their fault. Maybe it's the store's fault for not educating them when they do buy a removable battery device, whatever it might be. So I think that there's multiple factors in there, but what I do like is even if the store, for whatever reason, doesn't educate them on battery safety, the very first thing they are greeted with in the box, and I'll show you in the up close section in the down and dirty, is the actual warning saying, hey, read this if you don't know about battery safety. And even if you do know about battery safety, I still recommend reading it because I wanted to see how in-depth it was and how much it covered, and it was so well done. And I'll show that in the up-close section, but just something to keep in mind, that is a huge pro, and I think that needs to be a standard going forward for all devices. If you have a device, especially with a removable battery, I really highly suggest putting in literature in there, just giving a warning on battery safety for anyone buying that device. That is a huge thing. And more importantly, if it's a mech mod you're selling, I think you have to have that with them. Mech mods are probably the most important thing to have battery safety with, especially when people are just getting into them. And, you know, they seem to be a bit of a fad right now. Mech mods are kind of, it's almost like a hipster thing. Like, I don't need wattage. I got a mech mod and I'll build my own and make it, you know, go 200 watts on its own, which of course is never recommended, but, you know, people do as they do, and to each their own, I guess. Just make sure if you do screw up, do not blame it on the vaping community. I guess that's the only thing I can say on that aspect. So again, battery safety literature is going to be key going forward in all of my device reviews. I think that is absolutely a must-have, and especially with removable batteries. And the next thing I want to talk about is actually on the device. The Pro itself is just the finish on it, the quality, the feel, the durability, the ergonomics of it. It feels really nice in the hand. I mean, it feels really good. It hits no problem. The button's in the exact perfect place I want it to be. The screen, by the way, in fact, that's a whole new Pro. The next Pro I'm going to talk about is the screen itself. It's one of the first devices I've used in a very long time where I can use it while I'm outside or while I'm wearing sunglasses outside even, and I can actually see the screen with perfect clarity, which I love. I mean, it's the little things like this that just get me going. I love that about this device, and I love that Innokin's taken the time to address some of these needs. Now, with the screen being as bright as what it is and as powerful, or not as powerful, but as clear as what it is, you'd assume it would be a huge battery drainer. You know, it would drain the battery very quickly. And the truth is, the battery life on this is excellent, which is a whole nother Pro as well. Now, one thing I will say is that I am using my LG HG2, which has 3000 milliamp hours, which is a big battery for an 18650, which might be part of the reason why I'm getting such great battery life. I would say adjust, you know, your calculations accordingly. If you're using, say, a Sony VTC or even a Samsung, those aren't the biggest batteries as far as lifespan goes. So I would say that, you know, depending on what you're using, adjust it a little bit. But even still, with other devices I've used with that same LG HG2 battery, I still didn't find it has as much battery life as this one does for a single 18650. Now, I'm not going to get into too much on the battery life because that's going to be the next topic, but that is something I do want to mention as a Pro as well. Another Pro I have is the menu system. It is very simple to use and operate. It's very easy to get used to. It feels familiar to you. It's kind of that menu system that's a little bit different, but it's not super complex. You can scroll through menu items very quickly, very efficiently. You can get your puff count just by hitting two buttons at the same time, which is really cool as well. The power button is nice and big as well, which I really like about that. It's not too small. It feels like it's the perfect size for me. But, you know, maybe it's not for you depending on, I don't know, hand size, I guess. Whatever. Anyways, for me, it's a huge Pro. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about is just the battery tray itself. Now, the battery tray itself, and specifically, I shouldn't say the tray, but more so the battery cap on here, I love it, okay? It's probably my favorite battery cap on any device. And I say that because it uses a very a type of battery cover, I should say, that's very love-hate. I love the design of it. I love the aspect of it and the look of it and the minimalistic appearance of it. But I usually hate these because you have to open them with a screwdriver or a coin. And that's a bit of a pain. So hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. But I'll show you guys specifically in the down and dirty section. However, the reason why it's a Pro is because they've innovated that same battery cap. They have that same minimalist approach to the battery cap, that kind of elegance to it. But they've actually added this little flip-up tab so you can unscrew it with your fingers, no problem at all. You don't have to use a screwdriver, you don't have to use a coin. It's very easy to open and close, and it's so well done, and then it just tucks back away. You don't even see it when you're vaping on it again, once the battery's in there, of course. So, again, so many pros. You know, the one con I had was very, very picky. I don't think it's anything to really write home about. I guess some other things that I don't really call a pro, but I guess it should be. The temperature control on this thing obviously works really well. I've ran this exact tank I'm using right now, which is the Innokin iSub VE, which is a 2 mil capacity tank with a stainless steel coil in here. I've run it dry, didn't have any dry hits. It stopped when it needed to, which is excellent, so it does work. I mean, I don't know if I call that a pro. I guess I kind of expect that any device that says temp control is going to work, but I will say this one absolutely did work, and it was bang on exactly what I wanted to do. So that's pretty much it as far as pros and cons go. Let's talk about battery a little bit more. I did cover it a little bit more in the pros and cons than I intended to. But again, just to reiterate it, I guess what I want to say is battery life is absolutely phenomenal in this. I mean, I'm at half battery capacity. You'll see in the up close section. I've only drained out half the battery in temp control mode at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, And based on the puff counter, I actually have already hit 113 puffs since I put this battery in, and since I started using it strictly in temp control mode. So 113 puffs, I mean, and it's only halfway done. I'm going to say conservatively in temp control mode, I would say you're looking at about 180 puffs on a single battery, especially if you're using the LG HG2s. Now, like I said before in the pros and cons section, if you're using something else, adjust accordingly. But if not, just something to keep in mind. I like the LG HG2s because they have great battery capacity. And of course, the fact they are 3,000 milliamp hours is of course nothing to shame on either. So that does help it a lot as well. But even in previous devices I've used, I felt like this one outlasted it by a significant amount. So by 180 puffs on this in temp control mode, to kind of put it into perspective, I would say the average vapor, and for you may want to adjust this based on your vaping style, but I would say the average vapor takes probably, I would say 10 puffs every half hour. And again, that's just a rough estimate. Maybe it's way more than that. Maybe it's less than that. So 10 puffs every half hour equates to 20 puffs an hour. At 180 puffs, that's 9 hours of battery life. Sorry, just checking my math there. Yeah, it's about 9 hours of battery life. And I will confirm this. I've been vaping on this since last night and into today. It's roughly, 7 o'clock right now, I think. I don't know if my clock's in the video, but it's... no, sorry. It's about 6 o'clock right now. But anyway, so it's about 6 o'clock right now. So from probably 2 or 3 hours last night of vaping, plus all day today, from say 7:30ish, maybe 8 o'clock to be safe, 8 to 6. 8 to 6 alone is already, oh shit, that's 10 hours. So we're talking 12 hours battery. But again, going by the puff counter, obviously I haven't been using it, exactly what I mentioned, 10 puffs every half hour, because, no one really keeps track of the amount of puffs they're doing in a certain time frame, I would think, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, so I've had 12 hours battery. I've been using this pretty much non-stop since last night when I last charged the battery, and like I said, I still have half a battery left. And my current puff count, by the way, 113. So 113 puffs in 12 hours. I guess I'm averaging closer to 10 puffs an hour on this, which kind of makes sense because I do cheat a little bit and use my T22 on occasion just to, mix things up a little bit. And I think that, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. And like I said, it feels like it's lasted a long time. And now doing the actual math on camera, it has lasted me a long time. Most batteries, or most single battery devices, will last me about, 4 to 6 hours most. And that's pretty much the same vaping style as what I've been using this one. And that's just, that's a huge thing. Now, of course, further to that, I did want to talk with battery safety, but I think I already covered that. The biggest thing with that is just that it does come with the battery literature in there, which is a huge pro in my mind, and just something I wanted to mention there. So that is absolutely fantastic that it does that, and I'm so proud of Innokin for doing that. Now, if all that wasn't enough, there is one more thing they've done for battery safety, which I believe they're the first to do. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen and from what I've purchased, they are definitely the first to do it in my eyes, and that is include this. This right here, as you'll see in the up close section, is a battery condom. This is going to protect you if you put your batteries in your pocket from making contact with your keys or other metal objects, coins, etc., loose change, and what it's going to do is prevent it from shorting off in your pocket. They include this with all of their 18650 or Innokin TC18650 devices. That is huge. That is something that no one thinks about, but they did it. They did it. Now you have no excuse to store your batteries in your pocket without protection. So, yes, I'm super happy right now. I'm a little bit worked up because I can't believe how much they thought of in this package. I love it. I love how in-depth they were in their thinking for what they want to do to protect themselves. To put it into perspective, if you haven't released an external battery mod in, 2 years now, close to that, you'd think you'd want to think about all of your options to protect yourself, especially seeing what's been going on in those 2 years. People shorting out batteries in their pockets, people shorting out batteries in their mods, all that good stuff. And all that stuff is covered in the either with the battery condom or in the battery literature that's included. So that's going to do it for the battery section. What do you say we get down and dirty with the Innokin TC18650 and take a closer look? Alright YouTube, let's get down and dirty with the Coolfire 4 TC18650. The first thing we want to do is remove the sleeve. and get to the box itself. Alright, so we remove the sleeve. Basically, it was a little bit hard to do with these gloves on just because they're a little bit difficult. They don't have much grip. Here we go right here. Here's what it looks like, and hopefully you guys can see that. Now, I do have to admit, this is a different down and dirty version, so if you guys want to pause it here to read any of these features, you're more than welcome to. But I have to admit, I can't actually see the camera right now, so I really hope this is in focus. But there it is right there, the sleeve. Put that back, and let's get to the main attraction, the box itself. We'll open it up, and the first thing you're greeted with, as I mentioned before, is that important 18650 battery care. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now, this card is something I really appreciate them including, and it honestly is a big step forward for vaping in general. I love they have this. The very first thing it says is important, read before vaping. And we flip it over and we have all these little features here, or all these little tips and tricks on 18650 batteries. And I'm actually going to read these out to you. I'm not going to make you guys pause it here or anything like that because it might be a little bit hard to read. But basically it says, buy only good quality 18650 batteries from a trusted source. Now, I've actually said that before in my own videos, and I think that's hugely underestimated. And if you're going to buy 18650s, don't cheap out. Make sure you go from a trusted source, as they say here. The next point is to use only high-quality 18650 battery chargers. And again, same thing, it does not have a USB charger on the device. You will have to buy a separate charger to properly charge your batteries. Always store the 18650 battery safely in a silicone sleeve. This is a huge point, guys, seriously, and they do include one with you, so with this device, so you have no excuse as far as putting your batteries loose in your pocket. Do not remove the 18650 battery wrap. That's a big one, guys. Do not remove that wrap. That wrap is there for a reason, and same with that white thing on the top where the positive point of your battery is. That is an insulator. Do not remove that. If you remove that, your battery is absolutely garbage and cannot be used. Otherwise, it will short out and it could actually explode. So please, that's huge, all right? If the 18650 wrap is damaged, replace the battery. And if the 18650 wrap is discolored, replace the battery. Now, there is another solution for that. You don't have to replace the battery. Go out and buy some battery wraps instead. You can get battery wraps by themselves, and make sure you wrap your battery with a new wrap as opposed to just replacing the entire battery. That's the cheaper option, but make sure you do it properly. And again, make sure you keep that white insulator on there. So that's going to be the battery safety card. Again, I cannot stress enough how happy I am that they included this. That is a huge step forward in vaping, and I cannot applaud them enough for that. Moving on, we have the device and the tank. We're going to get to that later on. We're going to put those aside for now, and I'm actually going to go underneath here to show you what else is included. So underneath all this, I'm going to take these out one at a time just so you guys can see, but you have the battery condom included with this kit, okay guys? It's included. There is no excuse for keeping batteries not securely stored in your pockets or whatever. Next up, you have another drip tip. So you do have a spare drip tip here as well, just a little Delrin one. Nothing too fancy. You have your user guide, of course, which is always important to have. It's a very long user guide. It's about 39 pages, I think, or 40 pages, somewhere around there. It's long. It's all in English. It's all very well written out. And just one thing I want to mention, take a read at this user guide before you actually use the device, just to be safe. Also included is a spare coil, and it's nicely factory sealed, which is nice, so you're not going to get any dust or particles in there. So that's off to the side as well. And then finally, you also get some spare O-rings or seals. And you also get a little vape band for Innokin. And some Innokin stickers. Alright, so that's everything that's included in the actual package. Let's move on to the tank itself. You do have an iSub tank included in here. This is the iSub V. I think it's a 3mm tank, airflow, pretty standard, your standard Innokin coils they use. And a really nice design as well, very clean looking. It is top fill as well. And so you have that. Put that off to the side. And of course the unit itself, which is the Innokin Coolfire 4 18650. Now I mentioned before about that battery top or the battery cap on here. And I want to show you this, guys. I'm going to have to take off the gloves to get to this, but I'll show you what I mean by just how elegant but also how functional it is. Alright, so here it is down there. To get to it, all we're going to do is flip it open like that. You now have access. You can unscrew it very easily with this little kind of pop-out tab thing. If you want to screw it back in, same thing, screw it back in. Alright, so you saw how easy that was. It's super simple to do. It pops out very simply. It pops back in very simply. It's very discreet, but it works out very nicely for changing batteries, and it makes things so much easier. So that's pretty much the mod itself, as you guys can see. Spring-loaded 510 connection, all that good stuff. Really nice screen on there. It's super bright. In fact, let me grab the one I have out already. And this is the black color. I actually have the silver one out already. I'll show you guys what the screen looks like. Alright, so here's that screen I talked about. Very clear, very vivid screen. Very easy to read. You have your ohms. The stainless steel mode is what it's in right now. The wattage, the actual temperature itself, which is set to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, your battery level, and your last puff counter as well. So how long your last puff duration was. The battery is just below half, I would say, give or take. And if we hold the up and down button together, we get the puff count, which is set to 119 right now, which is awesome. So that's what I meant about getting close to 200 puffs off a single battery. I think that's what you can expect. So huge battery life, as I mentioned before, and just really impressed with it overall. Now, of course, to change the wattage or the temperature on here, you cannot just hit up and down. It doesn't do anything. In order to change it, you have to hold either up or down, and then once you've selected it, you can select up or down based on selecting either of these modes. And then to select it firmly, you can either wait or you can hit the power button and it'll select it or lock in your selection. So that's pretty much the screen itself. To change between your modes, right now it's set to stainless steel, as I mentioned before. All we do is hold the up button and the power button, and it'll now cycle through. We're now in wattage mode, same thing again. So we're cycling through right here. It's in nickel, it's in titanium, it's in stainless steel, which is where we're going to keep it because this is a stainless steel coil on this 2 mil tank, which I'm actually really liking as well quite a bit. Now the up and or the down and power button actually adjusts your wattage in temperature control mode. So we can see here we can adjust the wattage to whatever we want by going up or down in the temperature control mode. And that's pretty much it, guys. So that's what it looks like up close. And again, that battery door, just a little bit of a close-up to that. That little hinge just pops out. It's hard to do with gloves on, unfortunately, but just pops out. You can unscrew it, screw it in. Super easy to do. And that's pretty much what it looks like as far as just being up close. So let's go back up top and talk about my final thoughts, my final opinions on this device, and whether or not I recommend it. All right, YouTube, we are back up top with the Innokin TC18650. And I want to give you guys my final thoughts on this. Now, if you couldn't tell by the rest of this review, it's probably pretty clear that I love this thing, all right? This is absolutely one of my favorite mods, and it's probably my favorite single 18650 mod on the market for a number of reasons. And it's not, I'm not basing this just off of performance or off of, overall tank quality or anything like that, or the design quality. What I'm basing a lot of this off of is everything put together. The quality, the ergonomics, the feel, the simplicity, and probably most important is the battery safety and the literature that was included. So all those put together make this my favorite single 18650 mod on the market, and I love it. Honestly, Innokin, if you're watching this, you did a fantastic job, and I just want you guys to know you blew away my expectations, and honestly, congratulations on putting out such an amazing device that covers so many things I didn't even think about using or considering with other reviews. Thanks to you, I'm actually going to have a new standard for reviews, and I really want to push to see more of that literature in all devices going forward, in particular with ones with removable batteries. So as you can tell, I definitely recommend this device. And as far as who I recommend this device for, it's a widespread audience, honestly. The fact they include battery literature makes me want to push this on to beginners just as much as I want to push it on to the intermediate vapors or those of you vapors looking for a new single 18650 75-watt device. I think that this is so widespread, I have to recommend it to so many people. I think it's a great buy. The battery life alone should be a huge selling factor for you guys. Carrying around two 18650s in a single day is easily going to last you the duration of the day, so I wouldn't worry too much about battery life. Now, one thing I didn't mention, but you may have seen, is that there is no charge port on this, so you will need to get an external charger, which is great because that was actually mentioned in the literature. And I don't recommend charging batteries and devices anyways because it usually causes them to be off balance. It tends to kill their lifespan. And by lifespan, I'm not talking about their battery life. I'm talking about the actual lifespan of the battery. Most of these 18650s last about 8 months or so. And they last even less than that if you're charging it directly in the device. If you get a proper charger, you are going to increase the lifespan of your batteries to potentially 8, maybe even 10 months, depending on how much you're using it. And depending on if it's your only battery or if it's being rotated, how often you're using it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, maybe every couple days, all those things to consider. So just wanted to mention that as well. Now, as far as how this ties into the Innokin TC100, the Coolfire TC100, this is actually going to tie in because I mentioned a lot about battery life. And one of the interesting things I found is I felt like I was getting better battery life out of this TC18650 than what I was out of the Innokin TC100, which has a built-in battery. Now, part of that might be attributed to the battery I was using. The LG HD2, as I mentioned before, is the battery I'm using, and it's a pretty high capacity battery. So that could be a factor. Maybe if you use something else in your device, it may not last as long. But I would say apples to apples, I really believe that I'm getting more battery life out of the TC18650 than I am out of the 100 watt. Now I'll confirm that, and this is how I'm going to tie it into the TC 100 watt review, is I'll actually confirm my findings in that review. And I'll let you guys know in that review what my findings were, and if it actually is increasing, or if it is lasting longer than that one, and if so, by how much. Because both of them do have a puff counter on it, which is a really nice feature, so I can actually measure puff by puff which one actually outlasts the other one. And I'm going to run them both at the same wattage, and I'll run them both in temperature control with the same coils at the same temperature. So anyways, that's going to do it for today. I think that's everything. Yeah, that's going to be everything for today as I double check. Thank you guys so much for watching. Honestly, guys, I hope you guys liked the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up below. And I guess until next time, YouTube, happy vaping. Alright guys, so some of you may have noticed that at the very end of my videos, I've been doing these little tiny skits at the end where it's just kind of goofing around, especially my most recent videos. I've just been adding some little things at the end of it just to kind of see who watches to the end of my videos. And I think it's time to reward you guys who watch to the end of these videos by doing this. Comment below to win this device. As you saw, I do have 2 of the TC18650s that were sent to me. So if you want to win one, comment below, like the video, share the video, and comment below with the secret phrase. The secret phrase is going to be a battery brand. I want you guys to name a battery brand that you're using. Comment the brand of the battery down below, and you'll be eligible to win the Coolfire 4 18650. So I'm going to end it here. If you want to win one, you know what to do. Thanks for watching.